Hello, welcome back to Rare Reads, and today it's all about the absurd. So I'm going to give you my 5 picks for my favourite 5 books that would come under this category of absurd fiction. But let's first of all just get a bit of a definition of this. So what do we mean by the absurd in fiction, in literature? So the internet defines this as conflict between humanity's desperate desire for purpose and meaning within the cold, chaotic universe in which we live. And so it's exploring the futility of searching for order in a chaotic world. Or you could just say, the internet, that just is a definition of the internet, isn't it, really? And so some classic examples of this, before the internet existed, would be like Sisyphus, the myth of Sisyphus, or Waiting for Godot, or like Kafka's, pretty much anything by Kafka, but Kafka's Metamorphosis. So I'm going to start with something I would say this is, my first pick is this, A.M. Homes' Music for Torture. And I would class this as like absurd light. So it's more about the cold, chaotic nature of the universe than it is about kind of, funny, ridiculous situations and scenarios and sort of making fun of that sort of thing. But it is funny, but it's very, very black comedy, dark comedy. So this book is, and by the way, if you've not checked out any A.M. Homes, great writer. I really, really love her stuff, but this probably is my favourite one. So in this book, and I would say you'll like this if you like something like the film American Beauty or Stepford Wives. It's basically about, suburban rot, I think they call it. So it's sort of about, it's that idea of, on the surface, on the veneer, suburbia, all very respectable and comfortable living and, a bit of luxury even kind of thing. But when you peel back that surface, what grimy, dirty stuff is going on underneath, that's what it's kind of about. So this is about this, I would class this as like a psychodrama of a marriage. So it's Elaine and Paul, they're married, they've got kids, and they're just bored shitless, basically, with their very, very comfortable life that they've got. And it starts with, I think they've had a dinner party or something like that, and it starts with like they're washing up, clearing away after the dinner party, and he's moaning about that she's feeding him too much fat, and he thinks she's poisoning her or something. And then because he's criticised her cookery, she just grabs a carving knife and kind of holds it to his throat, and she's like messing around, but then it actually does cut him. And that is basically sets up the whole kind of, this is their marriage. It's just being cruel to each other, basically, increasingly cruel to each other. Not necessarily because they hate each other for good reason, but just because they're so bored. They're just bored out of their brains. And so in the very early pages of this book, and I'm not doing any spoilers or anything by telling you this, it happens really, the catalyst happens very quickly in the first few pages, is where Elaine just goes, I can't do it anymore. She just doesn't want to cook tea or something. And they just set fire to the house, just on a whim, just because they're bored. Just because they just set fire to the house. And then basically the house is on fire on the back, the kids are around the front. They just go and get the kids into the car and go and sit in a restaurant and have dinner, and they can hear the sirens going that are coming to the house that's on fire while they're sitting having dinner in this restaurant. And so it goes on. But they do lots of cruel things to each other, including having affairs. There's a point where Paul has this affair with this young girl and she wants him to tattoo his groin, and then I think he gets infected or something. Really bizarre things like that happening. But it does have a very serious ending where there are consequences to their cruelty. I won't say any more than that because I don't want to do too much of a spoiler. So yeah, great book, and check out some of her other stuff as well, because she's a great writer, A.M. Homes. Okay, number 2 is this. So it's Utopia by Thomas More. Look at the state of this. This got it got rained on. I had a massive I just had rain pissing through my window last year, and lots of my books got destroyed, but I couldn't bear to throw them away. It stinks as well. It smells really fusty. Anyway, yeah, Utopia. Right. So this was written in 1516 or something. Yeah, absolutely. Centuries ago. This was written way ahead of its time. And if you like dystopian fiction, so if you like 1984, this really was the kind of inspiration, I think, for, you know, Orwell, where he got some of his ideas from. Oh yeah, if you just like dystopian fiction and you've not read this, it's a must, you know, you've got to read it. So utopia, a lot of people think utopia means a perfect world. It doesn't. It's from the Greek, and it actually means no place. So it's kind of this nowhere place, and obviously what he's sort of saying by that is there is no place that is an actual utopia. There is no perfect place. Nowhere's got it right. Although this is satire, so he's kind of spinning this as though, oh, there's this perfect place that I visited. And there's lots of it was written originally in Latin, but there's lots of Greek and Latin language that he uses to describe things, and if you actually translate it, it's got a kind of meaning behind it, where it's been, you know, satirical. So yeah, the title itself, and then there's a river called Anida. I'm not sure how you say that. I think that's how you say it, which means no water. So there's like a waterless river. The narrator is called Raphael Hythloday, which again translated means a nonsense peddler, or I think seller of lies. I think I've seen it translated as well. And this book contains such ridiculous things, as it's basically about this narrator is telling us, oh, I visited this place and it's like this perfect society, but it clearly isn't perfect by anybody's standards. So it includes such ridiculous scenarios as humans incubating chickens and the chickens then imprinting on the humans, which is basically sort of a prediction of factory farming, basically. Like I say, way ahead of its time, this book. There's all these ridiculous rules in this place. So one of them is that you can't stay anywhere for more than 10 years, so you have to move house at least every 10 years so nobody gets too comfortable. Slavery is just, you know, kind of an accepted part of this society, and you can be made a slave for something as trivial as just trying to leave the place more than twice. So they've got this kind of enforced travel permit thing. You can't go out of Utopia without permission, and if you do that more than twice, you're made a slave. Gold has been completely devalued, so it's used for making chamber pots and making the shackles of these that the slaves wear. There's arranged marriages, there's state-enforced euthanasia, all kinds of, just absolutely ridiculous rules, which obviously is a satirical take on the rules and the societal norms and standards and expectations of medieval times when Thomas More lived, because he was in medieval London. I think he was a Londoner. I think, don't quote me on that. So one to check out, if you like your dystopian fiction. Right, next up, number 3 on my list, and it'll probably come as no surprise to people that have been watching this channel. It's the Drew Gummerson book. So this is his latest book, came out last year, Saltburn, no relation to the film Saltburn, although that is a great film. And this is a collection of short stories that I've just finished reading. So this is a tragi-comic masterpiece. I absolutely love this. And I'm going to do a proper full review of this probably next week. If you like Catch-22, there's a story in here called Sven Goes to War, which is every bit as funny and clever as Catch-22. I never thought I'd say that about anything. And this book very much does embrace the cold chaos as well as the kind of, the ridiculous, kind of absurd, funny stuff kind of thing. And these short stories are connected because they are all set in this seaside town of Saltburn. So you've got such things as a fetus museum, which features in, I think, all, if not most of the stories. There's a 24-hour gift shop that is run by a husband and wife who take alternating shifts. So she will be on shift for 12 hours and then he takes over. So they are just this constant ships that pass in the night. And at some point they kind of go, maybe we should think about our working hours because they just never see each other. And, why would a gift shop stay open 24 hours? It's just bonkers. You've got pit ponies powering a nuclear power plant. There's a wind-up toy that keeps on popping up, which you shove up your bum and it's basically a man that then kind of tunnels out of your bum. Lots of bum jokes going on in this book, not surprisingly for Drew Gummerson fans. And then the one I'll just mention specifically, the story I'll just mention specifically, is called A Piece of Ass, featuring a lad called Corey. He's the sort of protagonist. He's from a quite troubled family. He's got a really bad home life. And he bites off a chunk of someone's ass in this story, and then he keeps it in a jar, and he realises at some point that if he touches it, it gives him telepathic powers, and he can go into the mind of the victim of this ass biting, and he can tap into their thoughts and what they're doing. Just utterly bonkers, but in a really, really good way. As good as ever, Drew Gummerson, and I will be doing, check out my full review of this probably next week. Okay, next one is just a silly one. It's Gideon Defoe's Pirates in an Adventure with, this one is The Romantics, but you've got in an adventure with scientists, you've got in an adventure with Moby Dick, and you've got, I think there's another one as well, communists as well. They're all great if you just want to laugh. There's nothing too deep and meaningful in this. It just is. I read these when I was at university, when I just kind of wanted a bit of a break sometimes from the really heavy going stuff. Not that I don't like deep, heavy, fiction, but sometimes you just want a break from that, don't you? You just want a bit of light relief. And I would say these are brilliant for that. And they are laugh out loud funny. So you've got there's a chapter in here called Ham and Hellfire, which I think is just great. And there's a chapter called The Intestines That Came Back, which is just great as well. There's a chapter in there where there's a seance scene, a kind of a farcical seance that I think Shelley is leading it. Byron's in here as well. It is just great if you want to laugh. Another thing I really like about this is it's very, I think the word is anachronistic, because you've got, I'll just show you this quite funny table that I found on page 5, where the captain of these pirates, he's not happy with some of the things he's being compared to. And then you've got this table that's saying type of things that he would rather be compared to. So you've got a Greek god, an ocean, some fine wine, and a natural disaster. But so you've got, the romantics, you've got pirates, which obviously conjures up, 1700s, 1800s, doesn't it? But then in here, he's also referencing Val Kilmer. So he just mixes everything's just all mixed up. So you've got the kind of very, very, I think there's a bank manager in there somewhere as well. So he's got, modern references. So this anachronistic kind of thing that he does, which is the chaos thing, isn't it? So chaos is part of the absurd. This is more high absurd. This is more, I would say, pantomimic, kind of more heavy on the comedy, whereas your A.M. Homes is much more heavier on the bleak stuff and lighter on the comedy. Okay, and the last one, obviously I couldn't do this video without talking about this book, so this has got to be at the top. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you like Kurt Vonnegut and you've never read this, what are you playing at? Go and get a copy right now. I wouldn't bother with the film. The TV series, maybe not. If you're going to do a TV series, actually watch Red Dwarf rather than this, probably. Just read the book, but it's just amazing. And you've got some absolute iconic, kind of characters in this book. Such my favourite character probably in fiction of all time, Marvin the Paranoid Android. What a great name for a character. Who's this just, morosely depressed robot. And then you've got characters like Boeric, Wowbagger. You've got obviously the Vorgons, who create the third worst, not the worst, the third worst poetry in the universe. Which includes things like, I will rend thee in the gobberwarts with my Blurbacrumchian, which sounds, I do wonder, I'm going to have to look this up, or comment me if you want to comment me, which came first, this or Anthony Burgess, A Clockwork Orange? Because that does sound very Clockwork Orangey, doesn't it, that bit of language there. And you've got things in there, obviously the Babel fish, where it's this fish that you put in your ear and it translates any language into English. You've got the total perspective vortex, which is this thing, it's kind of a form of, the worst ever form of torture, because it basically shows you the whole of the universe, and it makes you feel your smallness and insignificance. You've got these hyper intelligent mice that I think have funded these some kind of robots or something that are calculating the obviously this is The Meaning of Life Equals 42. That's this book, if you've not read it, but you've heard that before, that it's from here. You've got the Bistromatic drive, which is this it calculates to the accuracy of a waitress in a restaurant, which I think is a brilliant idea. And I could go on and on and on, you know, all day with like quotable, you know, kind of stuff from this book. If you've not read it, and you, like I say, you know, if you like Vonnegut and you've not read this, then, you know, this is just a gift for anybody that's into, or things like, if you like things like Terry Pratchett, I suppose, as well. So this is pure, you know, science fiction, high absurd, you know, full blown absurd, this is. But I would say there is some depth to it. It's not just like your pirates in an adventure with, I would say there is some depth to this, and that's why it is such a, you know, seen as a modern classic. So there you go. That is my top 5 picks, absurdist picks. Please do comment me, let me know your top 5, or if you think there's something I should check out that I might not have read. Please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.